Hi, everyone. I wanted to welcome Tommaso to the show. Tommaso, welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody, and hello, Tony. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Let's get right into it. If you could kick us off with a one-word open, tell us what is that one word right now you want to use to kick this off with? How are you feeling right now?
Focused, I'd say.
Perfect. All right. With that said, you're focused, ready to go. Take the next few minutes. Tell us about your business, how you got started, where you are at today, and where you're planning on heading.
Perfect. So I'm one of the co-founder and the CEO of Gole. We say that we run amateur sports clubs professionally. What does it mean? It means that we come with our platform and literally we digitize every single operations that every single stakeholder has to do during their day. So imagine if you are the club's administrator or a coach or an athlete or the parent, anything you have to do from the administrative and financial tasks to coordinate sports events or communicate with the community of your team. Now you can do it in our platform. And today we work with over 3,000 sports clubs, most of them from the football world.
That's so cool. How did you get started? What gave you the idea for you to kick this off and get it started?
Yeah, so what happened is that I've always been a football player or soccer player throughout my life. And when I was 18 years old, I moved from Italy to the US and I played for a soccer team of a college over there. And I got fascinated by the way they were putting value on the world of youth sports. In Italy, I used to play at the highest level, almost at a professional level, almost. And I played against people who are champions of the world right now in football, and I didn't even know who they were. While in the US, you have statistics and highlights and all this kind of stuff. So when I moved back to Italy, I wanted to create a platform that would give value and interest in the world of youth sports. And eventually it turned back to be the operating system for sports clubs.
Understood.
So it's a little bit different from what the initial idea was, but it had to be this way.
That's really cool. Tell us about how you pivoted with the pandemic. I know the pandemic impacted everybody on the planet. How did you pivot to come out? You run a business and you're successful, but how did you pivot? Tell us about that.
So what happened was that obviously working in sports, the COVID-19 closed entirely sports activities for over a year and a half. Here in Europe, at least, we closed sports activities in March 2020, and they just reopened back in September 2021. So we had to survive 1 year and a half. But on the other hand, it was a huge opportunity for us. Fortunately, we had enough cash in order to keep running our operations. And so if in one end they closed the sports activities, on the other end, it speeded up the process of digitization of the industry. So right now, federations and sports clubs finally are ready to step into the digital area. And this is an industry that kept holding back in the 90s, because people at the management of these sports clubs most of the time are the ones who do that because of their passion, because they want to on voluntary basis. So they were resilient in not stepping into the digital area, while right now it's a completely different industry. So yeah, I guess we didn't really pivoted. The only thing that we did was to enforce our free level, our freemium level, so that every single sport club could sign into our services and then eventually get familiar with it and hopefully stay with us for the long run.
Awesome. What about a recent win? Can you tell us something that you encountered that you would consider a big win in this calendar year? Kind of walk us through that. Tell us, hey, this is what happened. This is how it happened. This is what I learned with this big win that I put on the board this year.
Yeah, so I would say that for the COVID situation, everybody in the company was feeling that we were in trouble, right? So no sports activities were going on. But then eventually at the beginning, I spoke with each one of them saying, look, maybe we're going to face hard times and we cannot have data from the market as the market is not going on right now. And but if eventually, if we survive this, then we're going to be in the best possible spot because we're going to be on the, you know, at the highest level. And so I felt like it was impossible to do it, or at least that everybody would understood it. But eventually they did. So every single employee or advisor that we have working with us, they actually were resilient and kept fighting, and so we managed to stay the exact same number that we were before. So we didn't lose any people on the team, and right now the whole team feels more, you know, stronger because we are really attached to each other.
Awesome.
And yeah, I believe that that's the one of the best things that happened in the last months.
Okay, great. What about your thoughts on thought leadership? Give us your, what's your belief, what's your opinion on thought leadership? Specifically, hey, what does it take for someone to be a good thought leader, in your opinion?
In my opinion, it changes based on the circumstances. So at the we are a very young team. I'm 31 years old, and I'm one of the oldest, maybe the oldest in the team. So when we started back 4 years ago, we had people very young, and so essentially I was the figure that they were look up to. But eventually, and so back then, I was somebody who would tell everybody what to do during their day, and then eventually we started to incorporate more people on a higher level of seniority, and also the core team started to get older eventually, and so I figured that I don't know, a baby, a human, that when he's 1 year old, you have to do something. When he's 3 years old, you have to do something else. And maybe 6 years old, he goes to school and stuff like that. So you have to give him more and more space if you want to make him flourish. So essentially right now is completely different from what it used to be 4 years ago. Right now, they're almost completely independent on anything, but I can do that because I really trust them, and I know that every other people that will join our team, he either reflects his values on what the team is right now, or is going to be rejected. But eventually, leadership is maybe make him do. I'll allow them to be in the best position to express their potential, and then see what happens, because otherwise you get crazy thinking about every single operations.
Yeah, totally. That totally makes sense. What about company culture? Give us your opinion on, what does it take to have an awesome culture within a company?
So what worked for us was to mix the work life with the personal life. You could see that a lot of us are friends in the real life. We go out at night sometimes. We go on vacations together, and we take some moments in order to talk not only about work but about also personal experiences. And obviously, so you have to have a level of you have to trust everybody, and so you have to be sincere and concrete, and the fact that we are friends, I believe that it is an added value for our company. And then yeah, you have to make sure that everybody stay at the same level every time. Otherwise, somebody could exploit the fact that we're friends, so and maybe it can be treated in a different way, and you don't have to allow it.
Excellent. Tell us more about your company and what it does. For example, I know you talked about it a little bit earlier, but tell us
Yeah.
what's the biggest problem that you solve? That way people listening, if they're a good fit, they would know that it would make sense for them to reach out to you. So just kind of walk us through that. Like, what's the biggest problem you solve for, for people?
I believe it does three things. One of them, it cuts time on the activities any stakeholder of a sport club has to do. So if they want to track the expiration of the medical examination, or they want to collect money, they want to coordinate sports events. With our software, it cuts time that it converts into, it lowers the expenses, okay? You save money using our tools. And the third aspect is that we increase the value of their assets. So a sport club has some assets, which are athletes, their brand, and their structures, okay? Infrastructures like fields. They could rent them. They have a better online image with us, with a e-commerce solution, with a brand new website. So also for their sponsors, they know that they can sponsor this sport club because it reaches out to hundreds of families instantly, and they have a good online image and physical image. And athletes, because they collect sports data. So if you have an organized way to collect your sports data about your athletes, then they have intrinsic value.
Excellent. Well, here we are at the end. If you could sign us off with a one-word close in a minute, that would be great. But before you do that, can you give out your website address or social handles? That way, people who are listening, if they go, hey, I'm going to check out his website to see if they could help our sports club, go and give that out.
For sure. So it's Golee, or Golee, GOLEE.IT. And I personally do not use a lot socials, but I would say the LinkedIn is the best way to reach out to me.
Perfect.
And yes. Sorry.
Awesome. That's it. That's perfect. If you could close us off with a one-word close, tell us what it is, and just choose whatever you're feeling right now to finish up the call with. Let me know what that is, and then so the audience are on the same page. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I would use the word practical, meaning that nowadays we used to, I dream a lot, right? About big dreams, big figures, and lots of stuff to do. But then essentially you have to be concrete and practical on what you can do. Otherwise, you cannot sustain it for the long run.
Awesome. Hey, I really appreciate the conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.